Come on. Here we go. Well, I thought I was live and now I am really live. So, hey, hello everyone. Melinda Russell with Let's Talk Racing Live. And so I am so excited tonight because a lot of times I interview somebody that I don't know. But this week I'm interviewing someone that I've known since 2017. I think Mandy and I met up right shortly after I launched the International Women's Motorsports Association. We met at PRI that year. I'm pretty sure it was that year, maybe the next year, but I think it was 2017, Mandy. And ever since then, I followed her. She's like one of my girls. And so I'm so excited to have her on tonight. She's having a whirlwind of a year, as she called it. So, Mandy, welcome to the show. I'm excited to hear all about what you're up to. But first, although I think everybody knows who you are, but for those who maybe don't, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you live, do you go to college, all those interesting facts, and then we'll talk about your racing career.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll ramble a little bit and do a little bit of an intro so viewers can understand a little bit about me. But
Okay.
My name is Mandy Chick. I am from a small town outside of Kansas City. It's called DeSoto, Kansas. And I've lived there since I was 2 years old. That's where our race shop is, still is today, as we're operating an ARCA Menards series team. So like I said, I drive in the ARCA Menards series. We had our debut last year at Indianapolis Raceway Park and did Milwaukee after that, and then Daytona this year, Talladega, and Kansas. So we've had some pretty good runs, and we're planning for more races this season. But kind of juggling on top of, I'm doing an internship with General Motors. I'm an engineering design intern, so I'm mainly up in Warren, Michigan this summer and working up there, loving it. I also go to school as a mechanical engineering student and getting my master's in engineering management at the same time. I am one of the lucky ones to say I go to Rose-Hulman Institute of Technology.
Yeah.
It's a private engineering school in Indiana. So absolutely loving it. That school is incredible. It's the #1 undergraduate engineering school in the country, and I'm very proud of that. But I'm going into my senior year, so it feels like a lot's going on, and we're operating our ARCA team on top of that, and it's been all good things. So I'm really excited to see what this season brings.
So many good things are happening to you, but they don't happen by accident. They happen through lots of hard work and dedication. And I've known you long enough to know that when you decide you're going to do something, you do it 150% or 200%, and you do it to the best of your ability, which is quite high. So I was excited to see that you were in Warren, Michigan, couple hours from me here, Mandy. And I'm sure I know you know Katie Hedinger. And her mom is over there in some capacity. And so lots of racing family tied in over, around the Michigan area. So excited for you to have that opportunity. You're a senior. And then what's your goal what kind of a job is Mandy going to be doing other than racing when she gets done with her master's?
Yeah, so my big goal is to own my own business one day, but I know that's several years down the road because I really want to get some good experience in the industry first and learn a lot, just be a sponge and soak it all up. So really this opportunity with General Motors is a great foot in the door, and I'm really finding that I love the company. They're a fantastic company to work for. They've provided me some flexibility for racing this summer, which is absolutely fantastic. It's just like a big family. And I think that as this summer plays out, I'll figure out what the long-term plan looks like. But I would love the opportunity to work with them full-time for the first 2 to 5 years plus of my career and get some experience under my belt. So I'm really seeing some cool opportunities there. Michigan, of course, has a lot of racing, and I love that I would be surrounded by racing. And as you said, my racing family. I just, in my 2 weeks of being an intern there, I have had the opportunity to connect with a lot of people in the company, one of them being Jessica Hedinger, Katie's mom. She's
Yeah.
absolutely fantastic, and they're a wonderful family. Katie and I, we go way back.
Yeah.
When I was getting out of quarter midgets, she was getting into those, and I remember little Katie, and I'm just so proud of her. I've
Yeah.
followed all that she's doing, and she's just doing a wonderful job. She's one that just wants to chase after her dreams, and she
Hmm.
will not let anything stop her, and I'm really proud of her.
And you're very similar in that respect because
Thank
you
you.
did the same thing. You chased after what you wanted and you didn't let anybody tell you that you couldn't do it. And there was times I'm sure that people said you're taking on too much, you can't do all this, or what's a girl doing in the ARCA series, or all those things that we know
Oh,
people say.
absolutely.
And you've just been like, okay, well, whatever you want to say, you say, but I'm going to show you with my driving. And that's what
Yeah.
you've done. And I'm so proud of you as well, and
Thank
Katie
you
both.
so much.
I just love watching you two girls. And so I did get to see you race at Berlin a few years ago.
Mhm.
Um, and then were you just there recently, or you're going to be there? No.
I was not. So the ARCA Menard series
Okay.
was at Berlin this weekend. I we have been in a couple of little family things we've been working out, so didn't
Okay.
have the schedule availability. And I popped home for Father's Day actually.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I'm taking a little bit of time away from just a quick family get together tonight,
Okay.
but yeah, I'm at my aunt and uncle's house, and I'm in Kansas City right now as we speak.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that you took time for us tonight,
Of course, of
and
course.
your dad as well. So, he's an important part of your team. So, let's talk
He
about
is.
that for a minute. You
Mhm.
you were in quarter midgets when you were little. How
Mhm.
old were you when you started? Because some people might not know your
Mhm.
story.
Yep.
Some people who don't know much about racing think you just, oh, I'm going to start driving this kind of a car, and you just jump in and you go. Oh no,
Right.
that's not how it works. Tell us your story from the beginning. How old were you, and take us through the journey.
Yeah. So I'm a third generation racer. That's what I like to start out telling people. My dad and my grandpa were racers before I became one. My grandpa mainly built engines and cars and crew chiefed a lot of Formula Ford vehicles. And then my dad got into racing when he was a teenager, raced an asphalt modified at I-70 Speedway for a while, and was into a lot of road racing stuff too. He raced some SCCA stuff. And then he and my grandpa owned a NASCAR truck team from 2001 to about 2005. And I was born in 2001. So that was when I was really little, and I was growing up around race cars all the time. At 2 years old, I had a little Power Wheels little truck and burnt the tires off of that. I had a four-wheeler at 4 years old and flipped that. It landed on my arm and I broke it. And then when I was just quite after that, we decided it was time for a roll cage. So got a dune buggy, and I stripped the gears out of that because I was going too fast.
Oh dear.
And then that's when it was time for quarter midgets. So I got
Yeah.
to hot lap my first quarter midget at 5 years old and started racing at 6. So from when I was 6 until I was 12, I raced quarter midgets across the country in the USAC tour. That's where I ran across a lot of my close racing friends, Harrison Burton, Todd Gill, and I raced with them. Carson Hosevar, he and I
Yeah.
are friends. And then Katie Hedinger, some of those drivers, a lot of us started back in quarter midgets
Yeah.
and bonded then. When I was 12, I moved up to full-size dirt modifieds in the Kansas City area and raced that for a couple of years, did some double duty while we were working on the asphalt late models and racing those. So started racing asphalt late models at 13. I was one of the last ones, me and Carson Hosevar, we were the last
Yeah.
ones to get specially approved for
Right.
the NASCAR home track series under 14.
Yeah.
Um, so had the 2016 NASCAR Missouri State Rookie of the Year, won that, and then went on the CRA tour, and I've been doing that all the way until last year. So a
Yeah.
lot of racing history. It runs in my blood. It's what sparked my passion for mechanical engineering. But ever since I was little, it's been my dad and my grandpa step by step with me. Of course, my mom's been supportive, but my dad and my grandpa taught me the technical side of things, and they taught me the love for racing. And so, couldn't do it without them. Special shout out to them for Father's Day. I'm so thankful for them.
Oh, absolutely. And so, yes, it was the CRA series that you were racing when I
Mhm.
saw you at Berlin. Yeah, I'm glad you reminded me of that. And Of course, I'm a huge fan of Carson because he's from right
Uh-huh.
here in Portage/Kalamazoo, and I've
Mhm.
watched him race from the time he was little because he's, I
Mhm.
think, around the same age as my granddaughter McKenna, and McKenna, Maddie, and Carson were all racing about the same time. Carson
Yeah.
was traveling all over the world, it seemed like, all over the
Mhm.
country, and my granddaughters raced in Kalamazoo, but became friends with their family, and
Mhm.
gosh, just follow him where he goes, follow you, follow lots of you for sure. But just so excited for you to be in the ARCA series. Now, I do know one of the really cool things that happened this year, and
Mhm.
you'll have to remind me where it was. There were 5 women in the
Mhm.
ARCA race, and remind me,
That
where
was
was that?
that was
Kansas.
Daytona.
Oh,
That was
Daytona,
Daytona.
Daytona.
Mhm. Yep,
Okay.
that was a really good showing for females. That was, a great weekend. It was, I
Yeah.
think, if I remember it correctly, it was me, Amber Balkin, Tony Breidinger, um, Natalie Decker, and Logan Mizuraka.
Yes. Yes.
Yep, 5 of us.
Yes. And what's
Yep.
cool about that is I've interviewed every one of you. And so that's fun for me. So when I saw that, I was just so tickled to see all 5 of you in
Mhm.
that. And that was a big deal that weekend because you got a
It
lot of
was.
press, all of you
Yes.
did,
Mhm.
for kind of showing up and saying, hey, the women are coming and they're here and you better get ready and watch out because
Mhm.
we're coming for you, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. It was a great weekend, and I enjoyed the opportunity to network with some of them and get to meet them, and take pictures with them and all of that.
Yeah.
So there are pictures floating out there of the
There
5
are.
of us before the
Yeah.
race, and it was a great weekend.
It was a great weekend.
Mhm.
Um, so I'm going to ask you some things that you've been asked
Yeah.
a million times, but again, there may be some people listening that don't know
Mhm.
enough about you like I do. So, Mandy, what's your favorite thing about being a race car driver?
Ooh, that's so good. I think as I have progressed through my career, I used to say I love the people, and I still do. I love the people and love getting to connect with people all across the
Hmm.
country and make friends, and they're my new family, right? A racing
Right.
family.
Right.
And that's a huge opportunity. But as I have progressed through my career and learned a lot, one of my favorite things is being able to apply my engineering degree back to racing and make our cars better and always learn how to ask why. Like nothing gets done in innovation without asking why. So digging in and figuring out how to solve
Yeah.
problems and just be better every weekend. That's one of my favorite things. It's a big challenge for me. Just digging in and just learning and figuring out how to make us better continually. So
Yeah.
that's one of my favorite things, and I love getting to travel with my crew as well. My crew and
Yeah.
my family.
For sure. And
Mhm,
we're going to talk about this just for a
mhm,
second. And I don't always get to bring this kind of thing up, but
mhm,
so many young gals, young boys too, but I focus on the girls. So many young girls want to be the next whatever kind of driver, right? Top Fuel. They want to be Erica Enders. They want to be whoever it might be,
mhm,
and that's great. And I love hearing that. But they don't see the importance of going on to college or the education behind it.
mhm,
So in your case, you've learned things through your education
mhm,
that can help you be a better race car driver, make your car better,
mhm,
work on your car, figure it out. You don't have to depend on
mhm,
somebody else necessarily to make that car go to get you on the track. Now, I know that dad and grandpa and your crew are indispensable, but I also know
mhm.
that if Mandy Chick wanted to go race somewhere and nobody was available, she'd figure out a way to do it, and you could do it, couldn't you? Because
Absolutely.
yeah. And
Mhm.
so I want you to speak a little bit to the importance of education, the difficulties, but the benefits, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So for me, going to engineering school is empowering just because I of course, racing is a possibility as far as a career goes, but I always want to have a backup plan. I'm a strategic thinker, and that I want to have multiple options. And so being able to go do that was huge for me. It was empowering. That outside of my racing, I have other things I can work on too, and I can apply that to many different industries. But as I've learned things in my engineering degree, it has been so valuable to be able to go back and apply that to my racing. It makes me a better driver, makes me a better team owner, even because I'm a partial owner of our team. And just knowing the finance side too, with the
Mhm.
engineering management masters and learning how to run a business and manage a budget, that's so important. And it's something that a lot of racers lose sight of. That's
Mhm.
why you see drivers pop in and out of series all the time,
Right.
and it's not sustainable. It's because they don't know how to run a business, or they don't know how to work on their cars, and they have to hire it all out, or they can't manage their budget properly. All of those things are really important.
Right.
But really, Rose has really taught me how to dig in and figure out my way out of anything.
Yeah.
That's the thing about Rose that's so tough, is they challenge us with problems, but it teaches us just to persevere and always keep working hard. Um, that's probably one of the biggest lessons I've learned in college overall.
Yeah.
And so that importance, whatever a plan is after high school, whether it's college or a technical school or technical training or something like that, having some sort of a strategic plan to get you from point A to point B is so
Right.
crucial, because it teaches you great lessons.
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
And, you know, God forbid racing would disappear. I don't know what we would do. But if it did, I always say there's a couple things that you'll never lose. One is your race family as friends. They're always
Absolutely.
going to be there no matter
Mhm.
what, and your education. And
Mhm.
so, kids look at, oh, 4 years of college. How many? I mean, you've gone longer than that. How many years have you been in school since high school?
I've been in school for 3 years, so going into my senior year, but I'll be 4 years and 10 weeks when I'm done. The extra
Yeah.
10 weeks is to finish off my master's credits, so I'll have
Okay.
bachelor's and a master's in 4 years and 10 weeks.
So that's incredible because most people can't do that. Although my
It's a lot.
granddaughter, my granddaughter went to Western Illinois University for marketing,
Mhm. Mhm.
and she did college in 3 years and then finished her master's in another year. And
Good for
she's
her.
she's kind of like you. She's very smart. She's dedicated, and she's not going to let anybody stop her. And but typically, it would take at least 4 years, if not a little longer, maybe,
Yep.
to get all that done. And
Mhm.
kids look at that like it's an eternity. And
Mhm.
when in the scope of life, I'm
Mhm.
67. In the scope of life, that's only a blip on the radar. So
Mhm.
I want kids to understand that it's so important, because if they're looking at a resume for a crew chief, one has a
Mhm.
college education and one doesn't. I'm not saying that that's 100% that you're going to get the job, but it weighs a lot on, jobs down the road, for
Mhm.
sure.
Yeah, and not just that, but technical experience, finding any opportunity to throw yourself into the deep end and learn how to solve problems
Right.
and work in different industries. That's so important.
Yeah, absolutely, for
Mhm.
sure. So we're getting a chance tonight to kind of go off a different direction than I normally do, but I knew that we would be able to do that with you because you've been there and you've done it, for sure.
Mhm. Yeah.
Now, the kids at school, do they all know you race? What do they say about it? Even back maybe to high school. What's been your experience with your your other kids at school about your racing?
Yeah, high school was a little bit different than college, actually a lot different, really. Um, High school, I had grown up with them, with my classmates. I had been in class with them since we were kindergarteners. Since I'm from a small town, we all, progressed through school, together. But I went into school in high school, and a lot of people didn't want to hear about the racing. They kind of thought of it as a bother, and for me, I just liked talking about the racing because, of course, it's what I was interested in. I was loving racing. I was racing pro late models at the time and asphalt or dirt modifieds, and that was just an absolute blast. And I think a lot of that a lot of the backlash from kids at that point was some of the jealousy. But I
Mhm.
was lucky to have a best friend at the time that dug in and went to racetracks with me on weekends, and she was one of my most supportive friends. And just having a friend to get you through that is huge.
Yeah.
Just to have with me at school and all of that. But my racing started to take an uptick when I got past my sophomore year. And we were traveling with the CRA series a lot, and I was missing a lot of school because I was traveling across the country.
Right.
So I ended up going to an online high school for my last 2 years of high school. And I absolutely loved it. I'm a self-driven person, so being able to
Mhm.
just on my own pace work through my schoolwork, it was fantastic. I even graduated a semester early right before COVID and just worked all the way from January to August in my mom's tax accounting office. So,
Yeah.
um, that was an interesting experience for me. I got to pioneer the AP Calculus program and the engineering program at that online high school. So my friend situation was a bit different than it was in
Yeah.
college. I feel like once college happened, a lot of people had more maturity, or it really was the community at Rose that pulled me in, and they were
Mhm.
so supportive from day one. It really kind of shocked me. It was one of those like, people want to hear about my racing. Like, it wasn't something that I would introduce myself with, like, hey, I'm Mandy, fun fact, I drive race cars. Like, it wasn't one of those things in freshman year. I was a little bit nervous from my high school experience. But um, then I made friends in college. They were fantastic. I were a small campus, so I knew everyone on campus by winter quarter of my freshman year. And they always loved hearing about racing. My professors wanted to hear about the racing. My residence hall would have watch parties. They actually, the first weekend I moved in, I had a race at Winchester, and it was televised. It was on, like, I think it was Speed 51 at the time, which is now Racing America. But they had done a watch party that weekend. And then I would pass everyone Monday morning on campus, just walking to class. And they're like, hey, Mandy, these are people I'd never seen before. Hey, Mandy, we saw your race. When's your next one? And so it was just that build of just that community on campus.
Mhm.
There, a lot of people are interested in racing at Rose. I'm seeing that interest increase as we add more freshman classes as well. So I know our new freshman class is stacked with a lot of people that are interested in racing or already involved. Maybe they're drag racers or dirt
Yeah.
racers. I even have a quarter midget friend that goes to Rose. So it really is a racing community.
Mhm.
And that's been really nice. My friend's situation at Rose has been so much better, and I've been lucky to meet the people I have.
Well, and wouldn't a lot of those kids be going into similar
Mhm.
occupations? So
Yeah.
they get it. They get what it
Mhm.
takes, and they get, hey, that's an important occupation, and
Mhm.
racing needs those kind of people. So I would
Mhm.
think, for one thing, and like you said, they're more mature, and I love hearing that, because I've talked to girls who say,
Mhm.
"Oh, I never got to talk about being a race car driver because I was made fun of, and the boys made fun of me, and the girls
Mhm.
made fun of me, and they didn't have a lot of friends in high
Mhm.
school or even middle school, whatever, because they were gone every weekend. They didn't go to the
Yeah.
parties and the dances and the whatevers."
You miss a lot of birthday parties and life events as a kid. Yeah, I had all of that when I was in elementary school, middle school, high school, all of those. I
Hmm.
lost a lot of friendships because I was traveling on weekends and people couldn't appreciate it, or they didn't see that I was achieving my dreams and this is what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But it really is that inclusive community at Rose. And they are racing centered. And I think sometimes people view me as like the connection to the racing industry. If they're interested in working there, they'll come up to me and ask for advice on how they get their foot in the door in the racing industry. So I've been able to kind of connect people to the racing industry. Like, hey, I know so and so. I know
Right.
they're looking for an intern.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
been really fun to be able to experience that in college. And I know that having that close knit small community that's interested in engineering, especially, is that's been valuable at Rose.
Well, and those friends are probably going to be your long-term life friends.
Exactly.
And there may be a good number of those people that are
Mhm.
going to end up in the racing,
Mhm.
industry. And so that's just so it just I can't even tell you how much it blesses me to hear that, because so many times I hear the
Mhm.
opposite. And I want girls, and guys too, but especially
Mhm.
girls, I want them to know that there are places out there that you can really be
Yeah.
embraced and accepted. And
Uh-huh.
Rose is one of those places.
Yeah, absolutely. And even past that, one of the things that I did in freshman year, and I was not sure how to do this because I was racing and traveling a lot, right? Like a lot of weekends I'm gone and I was worried about the time commitment. But I went through sorority recruitment and it was the best thing I could have done just for me to make friends and
Hmm.
bond with other women on campus. Our campus is 25% female. So
Wow.
it's still very male dominated,
Hmm.
and getting to connect with women that think alike and interact alike and want to make friends on campus, that was huge. So I have been lucky to be a member of Tri Delta for 3 years, and I'm so honored that this year they elected me to be president for the upcoming year.
Yeah.
So that's been a huge experience for me as well, just being able to connect with people and get to know them. And they've done watch parties for me, really honestly, almost every race they've watched on Fox Sports 1 or something this season.
Yeah.
And it's just been huge. I have some sorority sisters coming to my Iowa race, and some to my Michigan and Milwaukee races. And so just some of those things are invaluable. I'm so
Yeah.
glad that I had, thrown myself into the deep end and just said, let's try it. Let's try sorority
Right.
life and just get to connect with people. So
That's
yeah.
that's awesome. And now you've got one more thing on your plate, because now you're president of the sorority.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I just like to pile it on.
you know, why not? Let's just do
People
everything all at
people
once.
ask how I manage it, but it's really like, I don't know, I figure it out. Like, I really don't know how I answer people on that.
Yeah. I know who Taylor Ferns is, and
Yep.
she goes to, she works at Sam Bernstein Law, and she
Mhm,
goes to school and she races and law, very similar to you.
mhm.
And I asked her, how do you and she said, you just have to be a very good manager, organized, and her where she works is flexible, but still you have to be sharp and have it all together, because you could drop the ball pretty easy.
Oh, for sure. See, as an engineer, I
Your
am all
brain
into
works
my
different.
yeah, my color-coded spreadsheets and my
Oh yeah,
color-coded calendar, like, type A personality here,
for
total.
sure.
Totally, and so that's, I think, what gets me through it, but really, you do have to be a good time manager and
Yeah.
organized.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I was in the accounting field, same
Oh,
thing.
well, yeah.
My closet is
Yep.
color coded, my yeah, the whole bit, and I'm a
Mhm.
crafter and a scrapbooker, and so my things have to be really organized. And yeah, it's crazy, but you can get a lot more done if you do that, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So, what's your favorite track that you've raced at?
Oh my goodness, that's a tough one. I have a couple of different ones. So, when I was in late models, I absolutely loved Bristol. Bristol was a blast. It's flat foot, it's all of the momentum and just so fast and so fun. But I got the opportunity to race at Daytona this year and
Mhm.
absolutely loved it. It's again flat foot, no brake, lots of momentum, lots of speed, and that was so much fun. Talladega is much like it. I was surprised that
Yeah.
it was a lot like Daytona, but yeah, I was lucky to get a top 5 at Daytona this February,
Yeah.
and I think it's gotta be one of my new favorites just because of that experience, and it's just so cool, all of the history.
Yeah.
Some of the best have gotten the opportunity to race there, and it's just the history is incredible.
So when you pulled out onto the track, tell me what were you feeling? Can you remember, or was it just is it just a blur?
Yeah, I think it's a feeling I'll never forget because it was one of the big milestones in my career. It's something that a lot of racers, there's no way they can forget getting to pull out on Daytona for the first time. It was one of those like, holy moly, we're at Daytona moments. Like it just all hit me at
Hmm.
once. And
Yeah.
of course, I was focused because we had limited time trying to practice. But it was one of those, wow, like we've made it. Like we're doing a great job. It was a confirmation that we've worked so hard for this moment. Like this is something we've been building up to.
Yeah.
And it was just huge for myself and for our team. And it was one of those feel good moments. It was one
Yeah.
that brings tears to your eyes. Really, there's a clip going out about that we've posted a couple times in our hype videos or whatever, that I'm walking down pit road at Daytona with my sunglasses on. And the reason I had some sunglasses on is I literally had tears in my eyes. Like it was
Yeah.
one of those, on race day, it was one of those emotional days that like
Hmm.
it was very ceremonial. That's what it felt
Yeah.
like. It was, all the flags were flying and people were, doing their jobs, and it was like formations, lining up cars. And I had tears in my eyes. It was
Yeah.
one of those moments that once in a lifetime opportunity.
Well, and I think the people that really follow you and
Mhm.
are really invested in you, and any driver, but we're talking about you, would have that
Mhm.
same feeling. It's like I've watched Mandy since she raced quarter midgets. I've watched Mandy since she was in CRA, and
Mhm.
now here she is at Daytona, and
Mhm.
you just feel that overwhelming sense of pride in someone that and
Mhm.
that they have to be, meaning I'm thinking about you, have to be just overwhelmed, excited, and ready to put the pedal to the metal,
Mhm.
because that's what you've always wanted to do.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I had the pleasure of racing at Kansas this year too, which is my home track. It's 20 minutes from our house and race shop. And that was a huge moment for us too. It was, the first time that my aunt and uncle had ever been to a race of mine, and my cousin got to go too. And he works at our shop, doing just odds and ends projects, and cleaning different things of the car and just learning a little bit of technical aspect of the car. And so getting the opportunity to like have him at the racetrack and see what goes on and see how his hard work impacts our team, that
Hmm.
was huge too. It was great to be able to have family there. Of course, it's a family atmosphere for us, but really having more extended family like aunts and
Yeah.
uncles and all of them. Kansas is
Yeah.
just, it was emotional for us because it was a track that I had, grown up driving by every weekend of my
Yeah.
childhood and saying, I'm going to race there one day.
Right.
And so it all came true that weekend, and that was huge for us.
Yes, I'm sure.
We've
Now
had a lot
let's
of moments this season.
I mean, I know you have. I just, in fact, that's one of the things we're going to get to here in a minute.
Yeah.
Okay, what color is your car and what number, and why do you have that number on your car?
Yeah, so we have number 74.
Hmm.
It's a number that my dad and my grandpa raced in their trucks years ago, when they owned the NASCAR truck team. And when we got into the series and realized that that number was open, we had to snatch it up, and it was kind of a nod to our previous family history in NASCAR. And knowing that ARCA is a NASCAR owned series,
Right.
we had to do that. We had to debut
Yeah.
our ARCA team under that number, and we'll continue to field entries in the number 74 for a while. Our car, we just rebranded we've rebranded our website and everything,
Right.
just because of the new ARCA program. So our car right now is a matte gray and white with gold accents and shiny. So
Yeah. Very
it's
cool
cool.
looking car.
I'm
Yeah.
proud of it.
Yeah. It's a very cool looking car for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So, memorable moments, we were just talking about those.
Mhm.
What others can you think of?
In my whole career?
Well, whole career, this year, whatever you want to share.
So my first national series race in quarter midgets, I'll never forget this. My first national series quarter midgets race, we went to Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I raced with people like Harrison Burton and I think Carson Hocevar's like racing friend at the time, teammate, Will Raber, and some of those drivers,
Oh
very
gosh.
highly regarded in racing, and won my first national series race in our first field. And that was just an absolutely cool moment. And I remember my mom, like, it was one of those weekends because we were learning, it was all new, like we knew nothing about this series, and we were like, why not? Like, let's give it a try. And my mom was learning all these things and just trying to manage the team. And it really shocked us, our first national series win. And my mom just, there's a picture of us. She's just like, her cheeks are all red. She was crying and we were all crying. But
Yes.
it was our whole family there pretty much. It was my dad and my grandpa and my mom and some of our really close family friends. And it was just a cool weekend for us. It's a memorable moment for sure. But and that's when I knew that I wanted to continue racing in quarter midgets for many years. So that's kind of what kicked off our USAC national tour when I was young. And then getting to race at Bristol is a memorable moment, racing side by side with Mike Skinner, and then finishing, I think, 4th that weekend, which was an absolutely incredible weekend. And getting a shout out from him after that race on a podcast was one of those that I'll never forget too. And then our race at Daytona for the ARCA race and Kansas. So probably those are the biggest 4 memorable moments for us. Just and we're building. I'm excited for the future of our team. I know that this year we had planned to do more full-time, but with school and internship, a lot was thrown our way. And so we're just kind of getting our feet wet in this, and we're going to continue building.
So I'll tell you an interesting story about Will Raber. Do you know where Will Raber is from?
Is he from Michigan, I'm guessing?
Kalamazoo area. So Will Raber's older brother was Ben Raber. And Ben Raber and my son Ben were very close friends. And then we lost Ben Raber in June, and then I lost my son in November of the same year. And so we always, his mom and I, Ben Raber's mom and I used to say, oh, the Bens. It must be the name Ben or whatever, because they gave us our gray hair, but they were passionate about racing, and Will was as well. And so when you mentioned his name, I had to share that with you. So yeah, very, very cool that we have a lot of things in common, more than I was even really thinking about.
Racing really is a small world.
It is. It really is. And you just don't, you think it's huge. When I started IWMA in 2017, I knew there were women that raced, but I didn't have any idea at the scope of women that were in racing. And yet, when you talk about the 5 women that raced in the ARCA race, I've interviewed all of them. You know, the chance of us meeting and getting to know each other. You know, Carson, now he's in the truck series. Now he's had a cup start. I've been following him. Todd Gilliland raced in Kalamazoo. My son had met David. They rented the track the day before the racing, and they came out, and it was my son's car and Todd's car and David Reagan. And so they were practicing and I went to McDonald's and brought them all food. I mean, there was just, so I know Todd, you know, and there's just, and I know Natalie Decker. I've just met so many amazing kids, and then you start to watch, and now they're married, they're growing up, and it is such a small world, really. And you meet people wherever you go. If you have a NASCAR shirt on or a racing shirt on, people say, oh, who's your favorite driver? Or, oh, are you involved in racing? And then I hand them my card and say, yeah, I have a racing business. But it's amazing the connections we have. If we just, look around us, they're all over.
Yeah, absolutely. It's pretty wild. And one of the cool things about my opportunity this summer is that I'm all up in Michigan in that area, and getting to connect with some of my friends that I haven't seen in a year and a half or 2 years, because I haven't raced late models in that long. And so getting to see some of my closest late model friends, Kyle Mackey and Jimmy Tucker, they're fantastic. I got to go watch Kyle race at Birch Run a couple weeks ago, and just getting to reconnect with people. Those friendships never go away.
No,
They're lifelong friendships, and you can go back to them in 10 years and you catch up like you know never skipped a beat. And
yeah,
that's the valuable thing about racing, is it pulls a lot of people together. And you're right, it seems like a big network, but it is a close family that
it is.
everyone's connected with everyone.
Yeah, absolutely, for
Mhm.
sure. And I love that when you get a chance, you're able to go watch them, but also through social media. We can just keep tabs on pretty much anybody we want to,
Yeah.
if you have the time, to do it,
Mhm.
because we're all out there sharing, all about what we're doing in racing. So,
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Mandy, marketing partners. I know you can't
Yeah.
do it alone, So, do you want to mention anything about your marketing partners?
Absolutely. I'd love to take a moment to mention them, shout them out, and thank them. JRC Accounting and Dynamic Drivelines are some of my biggest supporters. There's FK Run-ins and Fergola Performance Systems. They're owned by the Fergola family, and they've supported me since I was 8 or 9 years old.
Uh,
So they've been with me a long time. Aero Race Wheels, HD5 Horvath Design. Um, I know I'm missing a couple, but Profab Headers, they're fantastic. River's Edge Scrap Management as a local business in the Kansas City area. And I'm thankful for them and their support of our race team. Rose Holman popped on for a couple races this year, so it seems fitting to thank them for their
yeah,
support for Daytona and Talladega. Um, and yeah, I'm so thankful for the wonderful people around me who continue to work hard to support me week in and
yeah.
week out.
Yeah, for sure. We can't do it alone. That's for
No.
sure. And the farther up the ladder you go, the more of those kind of people you need on your
Mhm.
side. Yeah,
Absolutely.
for sure. So I hate to talk about bad days at the racetrack, but I think someone in your position and what you've been through, and
Mhm.
knows the best way to handle a bad day at the racetrack. So how does Mandy Chick have handle that if she ever has a bad day at the track?
Well, I try not to have a bad day at the track. I try to wake
No.
up on the sunny side of things, and
Yeah,
I
I
always
know
grab a
you do.
Celsius in the morning. That gets my day rolling, and a protein shake. I typically, especially in ARCA, I used to be able to eat before, like on race day, but now I can't. I'm just a ball of nerves on race day. So I typically will grab a protein shake in the morning, and that's about all I will eat for the day, or a couple crackers. So that's kind of my morning routine. I go to the track, try to be there as early as possible. I know that I typically don't have things for a few hours from when the track opens, but I know my team gets there and they work hard, and I want to jump in and help them too. So
Yeah.
sometimes we have bad days when things just aren't going right. It just doesn't feel right. Maybe people wake up on the wrong side of the bed, and maybe people are at each other's throats, or things that happen in teams. I think taking the time to reset is really important if you're having a bad day. I know that it's hard in the hustle and bustle of race day, but taking a minute, especially for me, because I have a lot of pressure with just knowing the job that I have to do out there, I have to step away for a few minutes, maybe put a couple of AirPods in and just listen to an encouraging playlist or something like that,
Hmm.
um, and just clear my head. I typically am in a pretty good mood on race days, which is good. But I think when we are having frustrating days when nothing's going our way, it's good to stop and remember that we've worked hard for this moment and we've had successes in the series, and it's not the end of the world. We're going to work it out, we're going to figure it out. Um, Giving us a break to breathe is really important in clearing our minds and coming back
Yes.
with a fresh mind. So that's one
Yeah.
of our main philosophies when we continue with race weekend, and if we run into problems, it's, hey, let's take a break, let's grab a
Yeah.
water, let's,
Absolutely.
if I'm in the car, let me get out of the car and cool down, and let's talk about it, let's brainstorm, let's throw all these ideas out there and work through
Yeah.
them. um,
Yeah.
we
Take a
really
breath.
Yeah, exactly. We try to do it like a team where everyone has an equal say. People throw their ideas out, and maybe they're not the final solution to the problem, but they point the direction.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, we try to
Yeah.
be really strategic about it.
Yeah. That's good.
Mhm.
So, a woman in racing Have you had anything that you would say it's been a benefit that you were a woman, or not so much a benefit that you were a woman?
I think there are opinions on either side. I think people believe that it's a benefit that I'm a female in racing because I have a lot of publicity, which I'm lucky that people latch on to women in racing sometimes and they give them the extra social media push or they want to
Right.
interview people because they're females or something like that. But I also think there's the other side that there are some roadblocks too as being a female in the racing industry. It's natural. If it was a female dominated field and men were getting into it, yeah, there would be some roadblocks there too. I think that's natural. I think the thing for me that I have to keep in mind is that I'm in it to because I love it and just
Yeah.
continue to push forward because they're my goals and dreams. And I have to wipe the slate clean on what people have done in the past and just not even think about the history of
Hmm.
what has happened or that in history it's been all male or whatever. It's I have a goal and I'm trying to create a straight beeline to it. And I'm very thankful that females get that publicity. But I also I think it balances out. I think there are pros and cons to being a female in
Yeah.
the racing industry.
Yeah. I
Mhm.
agree, and I think there's beginning to be more pros than cons. I think it's turning
Mhm.
itself around.
I yes, I am lucky to be able to witness that. Yeah,
Hmm.
I agree that there has been kind of a change in tide. People have been able to
Yeah.
combat the negative thoughts, and of course, there's that every once in a while, or a random commenter on TikTok or whatever. I think
Yeah.
all of that's natural, but negative things happen all the time, right?
There.
They always will comment on anyone's video, and so I think there are some more positives now in the racing industry, which is great.
Yeah, and it's not just motorsports. Social
No.
media, they comment about everything, so
Yeah,
it's
right?
not just motorsports.
All the keyboard warriors.
Yeah, exactly. They know everything when they're
Yeah,
sitting here behind the computer, but put them in a race car, they'd have another opinion, I'm sure. So
right. Well, I think you run into that anywhere. You're right. It's in
yeah,
any industry.
yeah, it
Mhm.
is. So I'm going to ask you kind of a two-part question here.
Okay.
Um, have you been or are you a role model for younger drivers? And the second part of that question is, how have you or will you make an impact in the motorsports industry?
Yeah, for younger drivers, for sure. I have had the opportunity to go back to a couple of the quarter midget races when I'm in town or when they're partnered with NASCAR race weekends. I got to do that Kansas weekend and go talk to some of the little kids after my practice day. And just being able to go back and talk to them and remember where they're at and just encourage them and think about where I was at as a driver in that moment or what was going through my mind at the time,
Mhm.
that was really valuable in getting to mentor some of the younger drivers.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
I'm proud I've had the opportunity to go back and coach some kids
Yeah.
at the quarter midget level or get to visit them.
Yeah, absolutely. And they'll remember
Mhm,
that forever. And, it's one thing if your dad tells you or your mom tells you what to
mhm,
do or how to turn or how to pass. But when you can look up to a race car driver
mhm.
who maybe is not in your family and that you
Uh-huh.
look up to with respect, and they say, oh, these are the things that are important or you need to
Mhm.
remember or whatever, it carries a little more weight, I think, for that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been interesting going back to the quarter midget track because I remember when I was a kid, I was not listening to my parents on what they were saying with the race car. And so I've had some parents that will pull me aside and be like, hey, talk to our kid. They're struggling with this. And
Yeah,
so I'll be able to like go back to the kid and be like, hey, remember to be smooth or don't
right.
let off the gas as much because it keeps up your momentum if you stay in the throttle a little more. Like just give them
Yeah,
little pointers that
right.
comes from a different source than they hear every day.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely, for sure.
Yeah.
Um, Social media, we talked about it. So this is kind of we're going to wrap up here because I know you're at a
Okay.
family function.
You're
Social
fine.
media is huge. We know we can't get along without it. Um, how do you use it to
Mhm.
promote yourself and your team? And what platforms do you typically use the most?
Yeah, so I have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. So Instagram, Twitter, TikTok are all at the Mandy Chick. Facebook is if you just search my name, Mandy Chick, and hit the pages tab, it'll pop up with my page. And then my website is mandychick.com. That is newly revamped, so go
Well,
check it out. My PR manager has done an awesome job at revamping that and taking that project on. It's been a lot, but she did a fantastic job.
yeah.
If you go to the merch tab, this is new this week. If you go to the merch tab, you
Okay.
can go order some merchandise. We
Nice.
have partnered with Short Track Heroes to bring us merchandise and fulfill that quickly within, I think the order ships within 2 days,
Wow.
which is huge. So they're drop
Huge.
shipping all of our stuff and handling a lot of our merch. So we'll have some of that new rolling out in the next few weeks as well. But yeah, we're just building and rolling forward with our website and our social media.
Yeah.
Our social media hosts updates on different things we're doing. We're about to put out some announcements on what the rest of the year schedule looks like. I know we've had some questions from people and want to give people answers on our schedule as we kind of figure that out. So
Okay.
that will be updated soon.
All right. Sounds good. Mandy, I love you, girl. I followed you. You're
Thank you.
like I said, you're like one of my own. I'm just so proud of what you're doing and where you are and all that you're accomplishing. And I know I don't reach out and tell you that, but I'm telling you that right now. That I love all the people I meet, but some people are just a little more special because of when we met. You were there in the beginning, and I've been able to follow you and watch you race, and so that means a whole lot to me for sure. So one of the things now, usually Brett Timmerman is on with me. He's my co-host, but it's Father's Day. He's a father. I gave him the night off, and so but one of the things that he always says, and you're already part of my family, but one of the things he always says is, Women's Motorsports Network is a family. And now that you've been on this show, you're part of the family. So welcome to the family. I hate to tell him, you've been in my race family for, gosh, Mandy, 6 years, almost 6 years in August. So, yeah, I'm proud to say that you're part of my race family. And that's everything I'm going to bother you with tonight. But tell me what is your next race? Do you know yet when you're going to be racing again and where?
Yeah, so obviously it's been kind of funding and schedule dependent this year. But it's looking like if everything aligns, Iowa, July 15th will be the next one. If not, it will be Michigan, August 4th. So we'll decide on that, see how all the dominoes fall, and announce that soon.
You got to be in Michigan July or August 4th.
Well, I will. I will either way.
Yeah. Oh, you'll be in Michigan either way. Okay, good. Yep. All right. Sounds good. Because you're, so close now that,
Yeah.
You can
almost be there. Come visit.
You can almost call yourself a Michigander. So there you go.
I know. Almost. I don't know. Maybe a couple more weeks. And
maybe
a badge of honor.
Exactly. For sure. So, well, Mandy, thank you for being on. I appreciate you and all you're doing. I appreciate what you're doing as far as a role model for other young women involved in racing. So keep working hard. I'll be following you. I do. So take care of yourself. Have a good rest of the season. Hopefully I will get to see you at the racetrack here one of these days soon. And then we'll just stay in contact. You ever want to make an announcement or have anything you want me to share, you know how to get a hold of me.
Perfect. Thank you so much for all the kind words and support.
You're welcome. You go have some food. I bet there's some good food somewhere.
There is.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.
So Mandy Chick, if you couldn't figure it out, she's one of my favorite people in racing. I've known her, gosh, like I said, 7 years. Wow. Things are going quick. And so, just love that girl and what she's doing. And so I'm glad we had a chance to get her on and catch up with her because a lot of things have been happening to her this year. So like I said, it's Father's Day. Brett's a father. I told him to take the night off. And so he's enjoying spending time with his family. I do want to share, on Sunday night, we try to share the Sunday successes. So I have a few of those to share. And before I get started with that, I am going to, we have a new Facebook page. It's called Let's Talk Racing Live with Brett and Melinda. And from here out, I'm hoping that if you have a success that you want to post, I want you to post it on that page. And so if you have any trouble doing that, let me know. But that way I can have them all on one page and I can shout out way more people if that happens. So we're going to start with Libby Grimes, Grimes Motorsports. She finished off the weekend third at Wayne County Speedway. And I wish you could see the picture of her smile, but she's got a huge smile. She's got to be maybe 7 or 8 years old. She looks so happy that she got the third place. Michelle with Ross Motorsports has a nice picture on her site. It's Ross Motorsports, and she's got a large trophy on top of her car. So Michelle, great job. The Hale Racing team, they raced in Beaver Dam, Wisconsin, with the World of Outlaw cars, and they just have a great looking team. It looks like they had some success over the weekend, and so we want to give them a shout out. Hayden Wise Racing, she had another awesome night of racing with a top 3 finish, but this time on the dirt at Millbridge. That's a huge accomplishment. So way to go, Hayden. She started 15th and finished third with a stacked field of cars. She's headed to Pennsylvania for 3 events. Bone Motorsports, Bohn is their last name. And I thought I had seen this family before, but then I never could figure out where they were, how I found them. I was spelling their name wrong. So Bone Motorsports, 3 daughters that are racing on the race team. So we're going to try to get them on our show, or at least in the magazine, to support those three daughters, those 3 sisters. Luskville Dragway, NHRA Junior Dragster, Julia Malcolm beat Haley Anger. Anger is her last name. Hopefully she wasn't angry, but great race girls. Junior Dragster girls took 1 and 2 spots in the field. Kaylee Bryson, we know who Kaylee is. She's just hard to get on the show. She's a busy girl. She finished 5th from the 15 starting position on her debut with the 500 Sprint Car Tour at Toledo Speedway. Adriana Timmerman, usually Brett tells us about Adriana, but she qualified 4th. She got 2nd in the heat race, and she took 3rd in the feature. She said, one of the most fun races I've had in a while. Got tangled up a few times, and it cost me a few spots. Great to go, Adriana. Aubrey Walker. Her heats are done, and she got 3rd in her 200/400 main and 3rd in All-Star. So she races a quad, which looks so fun. I would love to have raced quads when I was a kid. Frank Bouchard posted about him and Sarah. They both brought home trophies. After she finished 3rd in the Blue Plate Predator, it was her 3rd top 3 finish in a row, and he finished 2nd in Clone Masters in his first race this year. So way to go, dad and daughter. And hopefully I'm going to get over to Arthur Speedway and see some of those guys race in person. Ella Ray Fifield, she's welcoming a new partner, AP Racing. She finished 3rd in her heat and 2nd in her feature. Way to go. And the last one that I'm going to share is a special little girl, Paisley West. Paisley races at English Creek near Knoxville, Iowa. I met Paisley a couple of years ago. This would be the 3rd year that she's racing for sure. She may have started before that, but she's just a young gal. And she got her first win and her first wing dance on the season. So Paisley, way to go, girl. Hopefully I'll see you at English Creek again this summer, but if not, I'm following you. I'm watching what you're doing. So I'm so proud of you for getting your first win. I know you're going to have many, many more. So that's everything for tonight. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there, racing dads, racing grandpas, and all the people out there that love racing, follow racing. The racetracks can't do it without you. They need you to go and support them. They need you to follow them on, Flow Racing or whatever it might be, if it's too far for you to go. But get out there and support your local track. We don't want racing to disappear, and we can't keep these tracks alive if we don't have people like you going to the track and supporting motorsports. So have a great week, everybody. Next week on Sunday, my guest is going to be Madison Snyder. Yes, the Maddie Snyder, my granddaughter. I finally convinced her to be on the podcast. So she's going to be with us next Sunday, and excited about that. And so have a great week, everybody, and we'll see you then. Bye.